past year, I've woken from nightmares where I'm trying to break someone out of death row. Sometimes we're running for hours, prison guards at our heel. Sometimes I take the place of the prisoner and they escape. Sometimes I fail and watch kicking and screaming as the prisoner is taken to the gallows. I don't begrudge my subconscious these dreams. The world I wake up to is far more terrifying. It is a world in which there are many death penalties, each one a fresh horror. When workers forced to travel in the back of lorries die on the road, it is a death penalty. When bodies are scorched in factory fires or crash into the ground from skyscrapers they are cleaning, it is a death penalty. When the poor lose limbs and then their lives because they cannot afford timely health care, it is a death penalty. When an overworked bus driver keels over his steering wheel after bringing his bus safely to bay, it is a death penalty. When a domestic worker is starved and her breath beaten out of her body, it is a death penalty. When 12-year-old children jump off buildings because they believe that their life is worth nothing more than exam marks, it is a death penalty. My favorite Tamil poet, Bharadiyar, writes, "Tani oru manithanukku unavillai enil indha jagathinai alizhiduvom." If even a single soul must go without food, then let us destroy this world. Sounds dramatic, as Tamils tend to be that way. But since I was a child, I have always found it deeply moving because it is a declaration that resists disposability. Not even one among us can be sacrificed. One unjust death is too many. Because once we learn to tolerate the disposal of fellow human beings, we snuff out a part of us that is vital to keep burning if we are to win back this earth for the people. Saeed Zahari, a Singaporean writer who led a journalist strike for press freedom, was detained by the PAP government under Operation Cold Store a few months before the birth of his daughter. Upon her birth in May 1963, he writes from prison, "I am the father, robbed of my freedom, whose world has shrunk into a dark little dungeon. My child, just born, into a world yet unfree." Here Said Zahari reflects on how, though it is him that lives in a prison cell, his daughter on the outside is also unfree. All of us who live in this society full of cages, coercion, and fear are unfree. As long as the bodies and dreams of our fellow people are caged, whether in Changi prison or in worker dormitories, whether in psychiatric wards or in juvenile homes, we are all unfree. Lee Siew Cho, who left the PAP in 1961 to become a leader of the Barisan Socialists, said, "Half the strength of the PAP has come from the fear it has instilled in the minds of the people. Our history is checkered with mass detentions without trial conducted under PAP rule, the incarceration of workers, unionists, students, and political leaders who believed in true Merdeka, who believed in the people. Remember, we have a long history of courageous working-class heroes. The people of Singapore have never been meek, but decades of detentions and white terror destroyed a thriving labor movement and the people's dreams of democratic socialism. Merdeka never came. In Singapore today, increasingly sophisticated systems of control, reward, and punishment keep us unfree. CCTV cameras watch us wherever we go. They monitor prisoners in their cells, domestic workers in their homes, and all of us as we walk down the street or take public transport. Workers are arrested and deported for daring to protest unjust working conditions. Tragically, our families, schools, media, places of worship, and welfare systems are often deployed to indoctrinate, discipline, and punish us. I think one of the greatest cruelties of our oppressors is how they constantly use us to betray each other. We are taught to coerce and police each other rather than nurture and love each other. We're taught to fear each other, not to truly see each other. The hangman, the prison guards, the police officers, the doctors who certify death, the spiritual counselors who coax the prisoner to walk obediently to the gallows, They are all workers used directly by the state for the smooth administration of murder. But we are all made complicit in this theater of punishment. The state constructs and sells us enemy images of dangerous criminal masterminds, the fearsome other that we need to be protected from by no other than the government itself. They convince us to give them the power to kill, torture, and cage our fellow people by promising us that it's for our safety. In this way, they maintain a narrative that we are always on the brink of disaster, of destroying each other, and we're saved only by their violent use of power. The way in which the death penalty is carried out in Singapore is emblematic of the PAP's distinct strongman brand. Even though we don't have public executions, they are still a powerful spectacle in their hiddenness. The final act in the political theater that begins with news reports of epic CNB raids, courtroom reporting, and the sentence of death passed, followed by silence. After they are sentenced to death, they disappear. The message: we are taking care of the dirty business for you. Throughout history, from guillotines to torture chambers, tyrants have used shock punishments, murder, torture, to bolster their power. Punishment is always an expression of power. Whether it is of drug trade workers or political dissenters, the PAP punishes us to remind us of its power, keep us compliant and divided. What our oppressors, the political and business elite, most fear is our rebellion. And that is why rebel we must. They want us divided across lines of race, gender, nationality, and more. Unflinching solidarity is our rebellion. They want us to fear and blame each other. Radical love is our rebellion. They want us to accept our disposability. A deep commitment to each other's life and freedom is our rebellion. Being an abolitionist organizer has taught me, as Paulo Freire says, that the greatest love is our commitment to another's freedom. Dachna's mother often says to me, "You must have been my daughter in another birth." "But am I not, mother, yours in this one too?" I ask her, and she laughs. When we fight alongside each other for justice and freedom, arms linked, we share a bond deeper than family. It is the bond of comrades. I believe our freedom comes within reach when more and more of us link arms in a sisterhood that transcends the ties of blood, race, or creed. Another crucial lesson I've learned is that fighting for the lives of our brothers and sisters on death row requires a discipline I have never needed to have before. The discipline to not look away from unspeakable pain and cruelty. The discipline to stay the course. The discipline to find a way when every door is slammed in your face. And most vitally, the discipline of hope. In this work, I've had many moments of overwhelming despair, during which these words by Cornel West have kept me company. Those who have never despaired have neither lived nor loved. Hope is inseparable from despair. Those of us who truly hope make despair a constant companion, whom we out-wrestle every day, owing to our commitment to justice, love, and hope. The death penalty regime in Singapore can feel particularly impossible to defeat because of our undemocratic and opaque systems that operate with impunity, because resources and infrastructure that support activism are extremely scarce, because our laws render most ordinary tactics of organizing and mobilizing illegal. And so it can often feel like we're putting one foot in front of another in pitch darkness. In many such moments, I have drawn strength from the extraordinary spirit and courage of the death row prisoners I've had the honor to come to know. They live behind bars, awaiting a death sentence, and yet they fight on. Then how dare we not? There is no obstacle we may face, no constraints on our freedom more daunting than theirs. So many of them tell their families to continue the struggle for abolition even after they are executed. When they are so determined, we bloody well better be. As long as we fight like hell, we have not lost. As long as there is struggle, there is hope. And struggle we will because it keeps us human. I'd like to end with a few more words by Said Zahari. He's my favorite poet also. This time, these words from a letter he wrote to his wife, Saul, in 1969, after 6 years behind bars. But in spirit, we are one, as always, bound by unbreakable bonds of love and longing for justice. Neither this prison wall nor 100 years of incarceration shall diminish my love. Though Said Zahari wrote this for his wife, I feel it is a fitting ode to the possibilities of love and solidarity that connects all of us on both sides of prison walls, Hong Lim Park barricades, borders, or any other barrier erected by those in power. We fight on.